Welcome all to SST College of Arts and Commerce. This is SST Edupedia. Myself, Assistant Professor Yogesh Patil from the Department of Science, IT and CS. Friends, today we are going to discuss the topic that is functions in Kotlin for the class SYCS Computer Science Semester 4, and the subject is Entered Application Development. So friends, what is mean by function? We already know. Functions are nothing but a block of code which we repeat repeatedly or wherever it needed. For example, in the real life, if we say if you have a dog and you trained your dog, and if you want to some particular action repeatedly you want to perform by the dog, so you have some tricks for that. Those tricks are working as a functions in the program. So this line of codes or this block of codes are called as a functions. So as you can see on the screen, we have given an example. There is a function which is named double, and to create a function in Kotlin we are using fun keyword. So we have created one function fun double. Now we are using one Pascal parameter, okay, which contains x as a name of the function, or sorry, name of the variable or a parameter, followed with the type. That will be in the next slide. So here just concentrate on the example of function, that is function double we have created. In that we are returning the multiplication or multiple values or 2 times value of that x. If we are using or how to use the functions, so functions are called a standard approach, and to use the functions or to call the functions, we just need to use the name of that particular function. In the previous example, we have created a function double, and in any program or in any other function, we can call that function by using the name of the function. Here, as you can see, we have used one line of code, that is val result is equal to double2. This double2 is used to call the function which we have previously created, and then this 2 value is returned to the x, and then that this argument is given to that parameter x, and then by, as you can see over here, and this x value 2 value is given to the x, and then it will run the line of code which has been written in the function double. That is, it will return the value 2 into x value is 2, so 2 into 2, that's 4. So this function will return a value 4 to the variable result. So now the value of result will become 4. So calling member function is use a dot notation of, for example, if we have a class, stream or any other, so we can use dot for calling the function within that particular class. So here we have a stream class, in that we have a read function, and stream dot read we can create an instance of stream class to call the read function. Now what is mean by parameter? As we have previously discussed, the function parameter is defined by using Pascal notations, that is followed with the name and the type of the variable or a type of the parameter. So parameter, these are separated by using commas. It means that we can use multiple parameters for one particular functions. So here we have one example, that we have created one function power of by using fun power of, and in the parenthesis or as a parameter we have created 2 variable, number and exponent, and both having a data type integer. So we have this trailing comma when we are going to declare these parameters. In the parameter, as you can see, what is mean by the default argument. For a default argument, function can return some default values which has been used when you want to skip any particular corresponding argument. If you do not want to give any argument to the function while calling the function, so not an issue. You can use a default value, or the program will use the default value which we have created or which we have passed while declaring that particular function. So here we have one examples. We have created a variable, we have created one function read. In that we have created three arguments: b, that is a byte array; of, that is an integer which contains a default value 0. So of int 0, int equal to 0, it giving a default value 0 to of. And then len, it also contains a default value of b. So whatever we have written in a b, it will give the size to that len function. So here a default value has been set by appending only a equal to sign. So and then it will override the value when we call the function from any other particular or any other class or a function. So as you can see over here, we have created one class or open class A. In that we have one function, that is FOO, and in that we have created or we have passed the parameter I, which has a data type integer and which contains a default value 10. So if we use it in a other class, for example class B, it will override the value and it will use a default value for the function FOO, but for another class it will override the value and we do not have any default value for the function. So here we have a default argument. We are using one parameter to proceed a parameter with no default value. So the default value can be used by the calling function with name argument. We are just naming the argument for calling the default value. For example, here we have created one variable of one function FOO which contains two argument or two parameters, BAR and BAZ. BAR has a default value, that is 0, and BAZ doesn't have any default value. So here I have just used BAZ, or BAZ we have used to call. So it will use by default 0 value for the bar. So no need to create or no need to pass the parameter value for the BAR variable. In the same way, if the last argument after default is a lambda, or if it has been passed outside the parenthesis, in that case what we can do, we can use that value. For example, here we have created one function FOO which contains three parameters, BAR, BAZ and QUX. Here we are using FOO1. So this one is given to the BAZ, then which this one is given to the BAR, and BAZ will, and the other variable will contain, or other parameter will continue with the default value, that is 1 and unit value. Then FOOQUX, print line hello, it will pass or it will use default value for bar and baz as a 0 and 1. In the same way we can use it for the next function. Now what is mean by named argument? Name argument is nothing but wherever you can name one or more functions argument when we are calling it. For example, this can be helpful when the function has many arguments and its default to associate a value with an argument, especially if it is a boolean or a null value. So when we are using the num argument in a function call, we need to change the order wherever we have created in the list by passing these values. So as you can see in the example, let's consider a function reformat. In that we have 4 different arguments which has a default value, like str is an argument or a parameter which contains string value, followed with the normalized case as a boolean, uppercase as a first letter, uppercase first letter as a boolean, divided by camel hum as a boolean, and word separator as a character. Name argument, just we have seen in the previous slide, we have passed few variables or a few values. As string we have passed string followed with the exclamatory mark, it has been passed to the str. Then false is passed to the next argument, that is normalized case. Then the uppercase first letter, it has been passed equal to false. So this is nothing but the named argument. We have passed the name of that particular parameter. Then divide by camel hums equal to true. We have again passed the name of that particular parameter or that value variable. Then followed with the word space. For that we have used underscore. So we can also skip all these default value, or we can use these default value. We have to skip the parameters. So by giving the sending the argument, we are just need to write reformat into double quotes. This is a long string. So this text is given, or this value is set to the str, and rest will contain for or followed with the default value which we have given in the previous slide. Let's see here, str, it will contain that value which we have passed, and rest will contain this boolean value which we have defaultly passed, that is true, false, false, true, true, false, and white space. So for next, that is unit returning function. In that you can see, if a function does not return a useful value, useful value is nothing but a value which is not used for particular variable or in another function. So that will known as a unit return type. For example, it is similar to the value which we, or a function which we create in a C, C++, which contains a return type 0. So if we use a function print hello, and we have passed one value or parameter name string, and after that if we use unit, it will use a by default, or it will use a non-return type value or a unuseful return type value. And if we have created some line of code, like if name is not equal to null or name, then it will print hello followed with the name. If we haven't given any value, then it will print hi there. So this hi there will be the unwritten, or it will return a unit value. Now single expression function. This single expression function is used to save the line of code. If some function, as we have seen in the first slide or first to second slide in example, we have created one function double. In that we have used opening brace bracket and the closing brace bracket, and we have used a return 2 into x. So instead of writing this 4 to 5 line of code, I have written only one line code, that is fun double, we have declared a function followed with the x into int equal to x into 2. So it will return the value x into 2 by defaultly. So it is similar to function double int x equal to x into 2. Both will be the same. Now what will be the scope of the function? In Kotlin, when we create a function, we have to declare it at the top of the file, just like any other program like C, C++ or Java, C#. But in addition to this, we can create a function or we can declare a member function wherever we explicitly needed them. So if I want to use a function at the end of the program, just before that I can declare it. So we have some local functions. In local function we can support few local values, like as you can see we have created a function dfs. In that we have created another same name function which has another or a different argument. So and then as you can see at the last I have again used dfs graph dot vertices, which has been used a value for the main function or the previous function. In the same way, it will contain a value or we can use this value throughout the program. So we are using visited value throughout the program. So this is nothing but the scope of that particular function. Now what is mean by member function? Member function is nothing but whatever we have declared or whatever we have defined in that function is become a member of that function. For example, if I created one class sample and I am using or I am declaring one more function, that is function foo. So that function will become a member function of a sample class, which we can use with the instance just like sample.foo. Friends, that's all for the functions in a Kotlin. Thank you.